All right, you want to start us off with the catchphrase?
Yeah,
we are rolling.
should we do it like, this is You Can Learn Songs, because why stand on the ground? And then the other guy's like, when you get sit on the shoulders of giants.
I love that.
Okay, cool.
I love that.
Which one do you care which half you say?
I have no preference. So if you have a preference, then
I'll just be like, this is You Can Learn Songs, because why stand on the ground when you... No, I'll stop at ground, because why stand on the ground? And then you're like, when you can sit on the shoulders of giants.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Yeah. Do you have your line?
When you can stand on the shoulders.
No, sit. It's more leisurely.
Oh, it's sit. Okay.
It's like, why stand on the ground when you can sit up there?
I like. Okay. All right.
All right. Cool. Are we live?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been recording.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm a fan of banter. I'm a connoisseur.
I know. I'm well aware.
So do I need to do the hello and welcome to You Can Learn Songs again?
Yeah. I didn't say my line.
Hello and welcome to You Can Learn Songs, because why stand on the ground
when you can lounge on the shoulders of giants?
When you can sit on the shoulders of giants. You need that assonance of the sit and shoulders. It doesn't sound like assonance, but there are two assonants.
I prefer the alliteration of ground and lounge.
Oh, that's okay. That's pretty solid. Maybe every episode you swap out sit or lounge for something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Atheist.
Yeah.
Christian Lee Hutson.
By Christian Lee Hutson.
Album Beginners. That's track 1.
Yeah.
It's how he begins Beginners.
It's at the beginning.
Very beginning.
Actually, it's the first album. So
it's not the first album.
It is.
It's not the first album.
He had the one Audio Tree Live or whatever?
No, he's put out albums in the past. He scrubbed them from the internet.
Really?
Yeah, this is like his third album.
So can I find those somewhere?
I'll bet you could if you're willing to risk giving your computer a virus. In fact, a lot of reviews for beginners say this is Christian Lee Hutson's third album and stuff.
Dang.
Yeah. Dude. So
that's nuts.
Yeah, isn't that?
I had no idea.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense. I want to do the same thing. I get it.
I would like to hear the old stuff, but I wouldn't, because one of my favorite songwriters, Chelsea Wolfe, she's really gothy and stuff, but she put out an album, her first album, and she scrubbed it from the internet. But you can find it on YouTube and stuff. And I won't listen to it, because I'm like, this is somebody who really cares about the quality of their output and also the brand of it. Mm-hmm. And it just seems wrong to go and listen to something the artist doesn't want. And I think about that all the time too, of every 5 years a new collection of Elliott Smith demos come out. Mm-hmm. And I ashamedly listen to those, but I'm like, if you wanted me to hear these, you would have put them out, you know?
No. That's a really good point.
I think about it all the time. It's you can buy it's I don't see it on the shelves anymore, but I used to, but it's photocopies of Kurt Cobain's journals. Mm. It's that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. You know? No, that's a serious invasion of privacy. That's nuts.
Absolutely, because you have no rights once you die. On the flip side, for the 40th anniversary of Darkness on the Edge of Town, Springsteen released copies of his notebooks from the writing sessions, and I have that, and it's super cool. I love looking at it, and you can kind of see his creative process. But he consented.
Yeah.
He released it, you know.
Oh, that's a whole different.
Yeah. So yeah, we've completely. I'll get off my soapbox. So this album, produced by Phoebe Bridgers, sounds great.
No, it's phenomenal. It's
because it came out in May or something. And it was
I thought it dropped in August. I can look it up really quick though. Okay. May 29th, 2020. Yeah, you were right. It was May. It was almost
I think I'm
June.
a bigger fan than you are.
You might be. You see, yeah. Well, you did. This is your cover, so
that's true.
Which, by the way, I'm gonna do a different Christian Lee Hutson song in the future because I want to.
I might too at some point. I might too. I really want to play Twin Soul.
Yeah, Twin Soul's
unless
great.
You take that.
No,
that's my favorite song on the
Twin
album.
Soul. I think if I was gonna take one, I'd probably do "Just Can't Fucking Do It."
Yeah, that's a good one. Just can't fucking. I just love that lyric in Twin Soul of Charlie's a fucking tool.
Mhm.
Say he's going back to school.
school.
Yeah, dude.
And get the band back together is great too. This album is just so good.
You know, and it's gonna be, as we talk about this song, I'm probably gonna reference some other aspects of the album too.
This isn't an album review, Nick.
I know that, but there's a lot of techniques he uses a lot, especially with like lyrics and stuff. So we'll talk about it later, but he's so conversational. He puts people's names in it, like and get.
No, I love that.
He's like, Charlie, I had a thought, you know, or I don't know if it was Charlie, it was one of his friends, though.
Right.
So it's an open tuning.
Uh-huh.
And you were brave enough to play around with the open tuning. I didn't. I said, I'm going to figure this out in standard tuning.
It's super fun.
It's
super fun. I like it a lot.
See, I'm kind of anti-alternate tunings. If it works for you, that's awesome. But I'm just like, man, I've spent so much time figuring out standard tuning, and there's still a lot of work I need to do on it, you know? But the song definitely sounds better in the alternate tuning. The voicings just work so much better. So it's
so bassy. It's so like
so bassy, yeah.
Open and I was amazed that that's one guitar. That's one guitar. Like upon like a deeper listening,
dude.
Which it's 2 tracks. It's got to be 2 tracks.
It's 2 tracks. You can hear some variability, but and they sometimes kind of weave in and out. But for the most part, this is all stuff he can do just sitting with one guitar.
I sat down to learn this cover because originally we were going to both cover the song and like couldn't do it. All I ended up doing, like I wrote like 7 different riffs on that guitar because every time I would start to learn one of the chords, it would spark this whole other, you know. So I was like, maybe alternate tunings is a bad idea because like it leaves me not for I'm not saying for everyone. I'm saying like for me personally, like I get so distracted by like all of the new territory, you know. Like I'm excited by the opportunity that this is. I can't wait to be a better songwriter. Same,
dude. And like also like to listeners, I want to hear comments because like the thing is like, you know, we've been writing songs forever. Like I think I wrote my first song when I was like 5, and like I seriously started writing when I was 13. So that's 15 years of serious writing. And like most of the music theory I've learned is self-taught. So like I also might be using some wrong terms. So if anybody spots that, throw it out there. Like I'd be happy to see it because this is all about learning. Like there's no masters. Absolutely. There are no masters. You know? There's always somebody you can pick up some stuff from.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I want to dive into, you know, like areas of this that I'm very unfamiliar with, you know, as far as like production. Like how did they get this sound? How did they create this ambiance, you know? And so it's like, there's so much that we can cover. It's awesome. But
I think like what I'll want to touch on in the production is how does it aid the songwriting specifically, because that's my interest of it. And then also production's such an interesting thing because like it's wonderful to listen to like fully produced music. But then like there's also the campfire aspect of the song, of like, does the song work without all the production? And any Christian Lee Hutson song we talk about, it's going to work no matter how you do it because his songs are so rock solid, man. There's like not an ounce of fat on them.
Oh, no.
They're just all killer, man.
Yeah, you can tell he started with a very solid foundation.
It's clear that Phoebe Bridgers is a really empathic producer because like I've looked at some interviews with Christian. Unfortunately, this new debut of an album came out in a time where like a musician can't do too much right now, you know. But he mentions frequently that he is not a producer at all, you know. So like he also seems to be the type of writer, which isn't the type of writer I am, who like hones in and just labors over a song for it seems like years, man. You can find Break You Down, that's the name of it, right? Keep You Down. You can find him playing Keep You Down like 4 years ago. You sent me a video of it where he had those girls playing strings on it,
right?
Or like I think Audio Tree, he plays that song with a rock band,
right?
Like he's truly, appears to be the type of writer who has an idea and sticks with it till it's perfect. And I tend to be like, I write like a song like every 3 days. Like that's just kind of my thing. And then I revise them and stuff. But I mean, he seems to like really lock in and make the songs just as rock solid as possible. And he's such a gifted guitarist. So there's so many different ways he can do it. And we see a lot of his, I don't even want to say tricks, his skills just laid out in front of us on this album. Mm-hmm. And it's, one of the things I love about it is a lot of times you can see where his inspiration comes from. He doesn't necessarily hide. You can hear the music he loves in the music that he writes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, that's something that I've thought about, a lot lately, is just like wearing your influences, because, you know, the only reason that you would hide it is if there was something to hide. You know, if you were doing something that you were a little bit ashamed, like, of, as far as like taking from the intellectual, you know, property of someone else. In my mind,
I think there's that, and then I think the flip side is just insecurity. You know, because I see this all the time on the music theory Reddit from people who can't write, and the only reason they can't write, the whole premise of my website is you can write, anyone can do it, but I do see a lot of people who are so focused on being completely original, which, like,
guilty.
There's 12 notes. I think I'd have to count them. There's not very many notes. I guarantee you they've all been used a couple times. But it's people who are just focused so much on originality, and they try to run from the musical cliches. But like, we all love genre. You know, I'm a fan of the folk genre. I'm a fan of the death metal genre. And the reason why these genres exist is because there's certain genre cliches that these writers use, and we love them for it. But then sometimes people sit down and write, and they're like, I have to run away from all of this. And it's like, but that's where the songs are. You know, that's where the beautiful songs are. And there's beautiful songs everywhere. But a lot of times, like, originality, it is better to be only 50% original and have songs than to be 100% and do nothing, you know? Yeah. Like that, I see that all the time, man.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should, like, it, all of, like, creativity at its core is just, like, making connections between things that previously weren't connected, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, those things existed, like, whether you want to admit it or not. Those notes exist. What, you know, the progression exists. It's like, but how can you do it in an, like, how can you arrange them in this artful way that, like, that just satisfies, you know, satisfies what, catharsis, or like, or some kind of emotional place. I don't know exactly what we're trying to satisfy here, to be honest. Why do we write music, Nick?
You know, so I think copyright's a scary thing, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, it shouldn't exist. But copyright's a scary thing because it's a new thing for music, and I don't know if it's the best thing in the world for music. Like the great classical composers, and I'm going to look foolish because I can't point exactly in a direction, but they would borrow from each other, and they would do things that their peers would do. And like, if you think about the folk scene, not even the scene, the roots of folk music is all about borrowing and expanding. But now we're stifling that because, like, people don't want to get sued all the time, you know? Like,
oh, no. And
I think about that, like, and I love Tom Petty, but you know Sam Smith's song, Stay With Me? Tom Petty got money from that because the Stay With Me chorus kind of sounds like I Won't Back Down. But, like, Tom Petty songs are so simple. They're perfect, but they're so simple they should belong to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, that's just kind of how it sounds to me. There was something about him is he could take the most basic guitar and just make it sound magical, which truly is magic. And like people know from reading the blog and stuff, I love simple songs. Simple songs are freaking awesome. So I'm not looking down on them at all, but it's almost like it belongs to the people, you know, and people need the freedom to express that. And then there's also like that quote, and it's like amateur artists borrow, professional artists steal, or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Jeff Tweedy even brought that up in his latest book about songwriting. And he's like, don't be afraid to steal, because he's like, if I give you the recipe of how I wrote one of my songs, you wouldn't be able to write the same song. You would write a different song. And even if you take a melodic idea from one of my songs and you go somewhere else with it, all of a sudden it's a new song. You know, obviously lines can be crossed. But I think that if you're too focused on being original, if Christian Lee Hutson was too focused on being original, I don't think this song would have been written, because the guitar parts, it doesn't sound like any Elliott Smith song. It sounds like all of them. And that's so cool, because he was able to take the version of playing that his hero did, and he found a way to make it personal to himself. But if he was focused 100% on originality, he would have had this beautiful song and been like, well, I can't put that out, because the guitar part kind of sounds like something Elliott Smith may have written. Anyway, so I'm capoing one, so I play the song in the same key he does, but I have to go about it a completely different way. But
which is, like, I think that's kind of like an important point too, as far as like, learn the song, but like, there's no reason why you can't like take things and run with them, you know? It's just, I think that maybe that's, I don't know. I feel like there's also like a satisfaction to learning something perfectly. Like, and that's why that's not my satisfaction, you know, like there's a people that have a taste for that, and they're cover band like players and stuff. That's just my example.
Oh, definitely. And like, I've never,
no disrespect at all. I've
never had satisfaction out of learning something perfectly, because I always, and this is to my detriment in a lot of cases, I always want to learn just enough to go out and express myself. Now, so like a lot of times when you learn a cover, it's just like simple chords with a melody. When I sat down with this song, there's a lot going on just between his voice and the guitar. And what I kind of had to do with the guitar in my hands is I had to like sit and really focus on like, what are the characteristics of the song that I absolutely love, that I feel like have to be there? And then in the areas that I didn't feel like were as critical, I felt like I could kind of go my own route with it a little bit. So like in between verses, if he's doing a little guitar move that like is supremely inconvenient in standard tuning, I would put in a very Nick Lee guitar move instead. And the same premise is there. It's a guitar move for a turnaround that's filling in space, but like
the term guitar move just cracks me up, and I don't know why. It's like, just sounds so funny to me.
It is like, because, and the reason why I say guitar moves, and this isn't about Christian, this is just how I feel overall, is that guitar moves are usually style rather than substance. Substance. But yeah, usually style over substance. So like you can kind of capture that idea without just aping someone else's move. And like,
it just reminds me of the word dance moves, which I just automatically affiliate, like I associate that with like just goofy, you know, like getting down out on the dance floor.
Is it any different though?
It's, I mean, I feel like, have you ever, you know how guitar soloists solo?
Yeah.
And then like, have you ever seen somebody out on the dance floor with the same intensity of like a shredder soloist, but they're going to town dancing? Do you feel like they're as badass as you feel like the guitar player is?
I don't feel like the guitarist is that badass either.
That's fair. But he does. But I don't know anybody that would be out on the dance floor that would be like, this is seriously badass, and just getting it with dance moves.
I think that's because you don't take dancing at clubs seriously.
That's fair.
Like you see it, I think, and I would see it very much the same way, as these are people acting
Yeah.
in a way they feel like they're supposed to. I honestly feel like, as silly as it is, I feel like in a lot of cases, guitar moves are very akin to dance moves, and like everybody's got some dance moves for better or worse. Every guitarist has some guitar moves for better or worse. It turns out Christian's guitar moves are all pretty freaking awesome, and there's like a difference in my head between the guitar move and the melodic and harmonic playing that he's doing. Because like he's doing crazy stuff on guitar the whole song. And a lot of times the melody, he's singing it and he's playing it at the same time. Sometimes he's harmonizing his voice in the guitar. And those sound like completely functional parts of the song to me. But the in-between stuff sounds more like guitar moves. And I absolutely love it. Like, I'm not trying to say guitar moves aren't as good as melody or whatever. They just seem like something that...
They aren't fundamental.
Yeah, it sounds like I can replace it with a different... Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a decoration.
Okay, cool.
And I'm so happy it's there, and I love how he does it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound so critical that I feel like I need to play it just like he does. I feel like I can do something different with it.
No, exactly. And like, there's a chance, like, if somebody sat down and they were learning the song the way that you did with a capo on one, they might try, like, take a stab and learn like one of those fills, and then they learn something new. They learn some, like some new, approach, technique, whatever it is, that's gonna help a lot. So I don't know. I mean, there's no right way to do it.
Definitely, and so and I think what I'm trying to get at is that when you learn a cover, you have to make certain concessions, and I had to make two in this case. I had to make a concession for standard tuning, and then I had to make a concession for the fact that, like, one, Christian's a better guitarist than I am, and two, even if we were equals, I don't play guitar the same way Christian does. So I had to change some things up. Luckily, I did a deep dive into Elliott Smith playing a couple weeks ago, and a lot of the tricks I learned from Elliott Smith, Christian does as well.
Do you think he looks up to Elliott Smith a lot?
Yeah, and he's brought him up in interviews, but I didn't even need him to bring it up. Elliott Smith's probably my favorite songwriter, and the second I first heard Christian on Atheist, I was like, oh, okay, I know where this guy's coming from completely. And especially Atheist, the production style is similar to, how, like, there's a harmony vocal, sure, but it sounds to me like all the vocals are double tracked, but Christian's so spot on. It's like perfectly lined up. That's a very Elliott Smith thing too.
Okay. Because there's little things where he accents that, like,
you can hear it a couple times.
It breaks apart, and they've got it so perfectly spaced.
Yep.
Sorry, I know you have another point. You still got it?
No, that was pretty much my point. It's like guitar and production wise on the vocals, very Elliott Smith.
Oh no, yeah, like this song specifically, because I haven't done as close of a listen to any of the other ones, but like the lead vocal, like the main vocal, is like slightly right off center, like slightly over here, and then that second track is just layered and reverb and off to the left a little bit farther than the other one is off to the right, and it sounds like he's facing this way and singing that direction. He sounds like he's singing off to the left a little bit. To me, also, I listened to the song like 1,000 times, and I was kind of like in a trance at that point.
Yeah.
So who knows if I was actually perceiving the accurate music, like.
There's something about simple songs, and I would call this a simple song at its heart. It's a high effort simple song. There's so much technique that's holding it up, but like in the end, these are pretty simple chords. The melody is just so wonderfully written, like it just all ties into itself. And there's not a ton of parts to the structure. And yeah, if you listen to songs like this over and over, it becomes very meditative.
Yeah, no, it is. It's nuts. It like sucks you in. And the whole album really sucks you in, honestly. It's a space. It is like a sonic space that is just specifically dedicated to Christian and his little, like, I don't know. Like warm fucking fuzzy blanket fort.
Definitely. I think that's a good way to put it. I don't think he'd argue. He built his cozy house with this record.
Yeah.
You know? And I heard in one interview that he was saying that like he worked on this album for a long time, and like the songs wore a bunch of different outfits, you know, like he was saying that one incarnation of this album was really loud because he felt like you had to be loud to get people's attention. And the album that we ended up with, there's one loud song on it. You know, the rest is pretty sparse, quiet.
Does that get the band back together? Is that the
yeah,
loud
that's
song?
what I would say anyway. But yeah, the rest is just pretty cozy. And one of the things is that it's just like in life, where if you want someone to pay attention to you and to listen to you, the worst thing you do is yell, because then they start yelling back. But if you like lower your voice to them a little bit, they have to actually put in some effort to listen. And I think music kind of, not in the world where like you need your song to be TikTok ready, but if you're going for an audience of people who are actually going to sit and pay attention to what you have to say, in a lot of cases, quiet's the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, and if they miss it, then
if they miss it, then that's fine.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
it wasn't for them then.
Yeah.
Or it was for them in a different way.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I couldn't tell you the amount of times that I've tried to show this album to people, and like, I'm like, no, like this changed my life, kinda, you know, like I know I'm being dramatic, like I get it, but like it's a great album. Like it's definitely like a soundtrack album. Like I don't mean I do. I guess I do. I mean, the music changed my life. I don't know. I don't care how stupid that sounds.
Hey, dude, if
like,
it did it, it did it.
Because it's not just I'm not just talking about the chords and the collection. I'm talking about like what I lived through while listening to it, you know? Like, yeah. And that's a super edgy teenage girl perspective to have. But like, hey, look, I put my eyeliner on one eye at a time, you know, in the morning.
And now when Christian puts out his next album, you're probably going to be a little bit let down by it, because this one just hits you at the perfect time.
Yeah. And
it hit me at the perfect time for different reasons. For me, it was more just like admiring the craft of songwriting and how well he did it. And I mean, like, his lyrics are so hyper specific that they're relatable. That's an there's a name for it. It's some type of paradox. I can't think what the actual name is, but the more specifically detailed you get, the more it resonates with other people. Even though pop music tells us that's not true. Pop music thinks that you have to write the most vague feelings of love down so that everyone can relate to it. And I mean, we do see that the listeners who don't listen very closely tend to gravitate towards that as background music. But
by the way, we're not just bashing on pop music.
No,
this is not
no.
a pop bashing podcast.
Yeah, because like all of this serves a purpose. It's about what you're trying to get across. But Christian's making music for deep listeners. Cool. So yeah, now we're going to get into the actual song analysis. I do want to clarify. I called this a simple song, and I say that with no condescension. The simple songs are my favorite songs. They're the toughest songs though. Like they kind of sneak up on you. And you have to be ready for them, and you sit down and you write. And I think that's what he did here. And then he added all these extra beautiful elements through the guitar playing and the voice and stuff. But at its core, I think that this is a perfect example of a simple song that just, it's so sturdy and well made, man. As silly as it is, I think about this all the time, where I compare songs to like stools and chairs. Because, you know, you sit in a good chair that's like sturdy and you're like, oh, this is awesome. But sit in a chair that's not sturdy, and how do you feel? Terrible. You know?
Yeah. A little unsteady. Yeah.
A little unsteady. Hey guys, this is the end of episode 1. We're trying to keep these episodes about 30 minutes, and we had so much content we had to turn this into 2 episodes, but episode 2 is up now. You can go listen to it if you want. In the meanwhile, please check out youcanwritesongs.com, or check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Wherever you like to find people, we'll be there.